I'm back with another Destiny 2 video. It is Iron Banner launch day, and I don't really have much to say about that other than we probably need more than 2 Iron Banners a season. 2 seems like too little. We should probably have 3 at least. I wanted to kind of go back and recap and review, I guess, the Telesto Microevent, which is what Bungie calls it. Last week, I had a video saying I was wrong about the community event starting at Reset then, and then I had a video saying I was right and something was starting, and both things were true, sort of. So I was right in that what was going on with Telesto was not just some random Telesto bug. It was actually a thing. It was something purposeful by Bungie, which played out the rest of the week. It was not a larger puzzle or mystery. There were no secret signs, secret constellations in the patterns of the bolts. It did not lead to anything larger in that sense. And then in the middle, is this a community event? Was that technically the start of a community event? I guess that depends on your definition of community event. It was something the community was experiencing together, but it is not what we traditionally think of as a community event where we all necessarily have to like do something in the game or solve some giant riddle together. So leaning toward probably not a community event in the traditional sense. I wrote about how there still is a community event coming, not this week for sure. Terrible at predicting these, but there's only like 2 weeks in the season as of next reset. This seems like something that would probably take longer than a week to get done if the community is pitching in to clean up the Elixir quarter and donate materials and farm currency and blah, 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 blah. So that is probably going to start next reset, but again, no guarantees here. Maybe they scrap the whole thing. I very much doubt it, given all of the back-end stuff that is in the game, in the API, all of that stuff. As for Telesto, so what this was kind of an experiment. I think this was an experiment on at least 2 fronts. One was an experiment of, okay, what if we do something in a completely dead week that is at least kind of like an interesting, funny, fun community thing. This was more elaborate than just, Savathun or Keitel taking over their Twitter accounts and roasting people, myself included. That was part of it. Telesto took over the Destiny Twitter account, although I think that got a little hamstrung by the whole Elon Musk thing where you couldn't change your name or profile picture for a while there, which I think was supposed to be part of this. But they took over social media channels, but it was more than that. They actually updated Telesto to be bugging out in the game. It was smoking, it was sparking, it was shooting in weird patterns, which changed at least twice, I think. I was gone, so I didn't go and shoot Telesto every day, but I think there were at least 2 separate wacky firing patterns. There was a smack the gun to fix it thing. Telesto was crazily buffed in PvP, so we had trials of Telesto that weekend. Xur sold Telesto. There were Telesto messages in the game when you logged in that were bugged out. So it was kind of an overarching thing that was all across the game, and it was in social media and things like that. So it was kind of a new type of event, and again, they call it a micro event. I'm a little mixed on it, and not just because I wish there were puzzles in the constellations. Yeah, theoretically, I do wish that, but in terms of what this is, what we could see in the future. I think I'm okay with the concept of a micro event. I think that is maybe kind of a cool thing that could play out in the future in different ways. I mean, otherwise there would have literally been nothing at all this week. Not that the Telesto event was some significant thing you absolutely had to log in for, but it created a lot of fun on Twitter for those first few days, and some good memes, some good jokes, but it wasn't really anything in game other than a bunch of people using Telesto in trials all weekend. So I'm okay with ideals like that. I think Bungie is trying to innovate in different ways, to keep something happening during these dead times of a season. Also in this case, I think they may have been trying something on the technical end where Telesto was being updated without a hotfix, when it was changing firing modes day to day, when Telesto would tweet something and the firing mode would change. So I'm not sure 100% if this is like a technical thing, but it seems like maybe some sort of test of changing weapons without necessarily having to hotfix them, which is interesting. In terms of the actual joke itself, I don't know if this landed, and to me this is kind of like a situation where it's like if the person or the thing you're making fun of like is in on the joke, it stops becoming funny. And like Telesto and its long litany of bugs has been plaguing Bungie for a really long time, and like it was funny because it started off with like, okay, Telesto was just getting bugged out all the time, and then when anything would go wrong in the game, we would blame Telesto in some form or another, and that became the running joke. But if once we, and then Bungie could like slowly started to, incorporate that more into their own meme lore, and like, there were jokes in the TWAB about Telesto, and then Banshee ended up holding a Telesto. This season they made Telesto themed Eververse sets. There was a Telesto mask, and then we had a week-long Telesto event. And like, I'm a little like, this kills the joke kind of thing after all this is over. Like, I think Telesto memes are kind of done at this point. Like, once we had a full-on Telesto, official Telesto meme week, it's sort of like, okay, this is a bit over now. Some of this was funny and like, things like that. And like, I understand kind of why they picked this to do something like this with. I feel like this might play a little better if they do micro events in different ways, because just going so hard on the Telesto meme to the point where like the meme is kind of dead now, I think that feels like to me kind of what happened here. It's not really about whether it was a puzzle or not or whatever. Like, I think that would have been a cool way to start a puzzle in theory. But I don't know. It wasn't like necessarily my style of like gag, I guess. And I think micro events in a given week that really nothing else is going on are fine. I think now that we know micro events exist, we might be able to adjust our expectations accordingly. I am all like obviously king of having way too high of expectations for like everything, so I'm going to have to work on that myself. But like this is my job. I like overanalyzing every little thing that happens in Destiny, even though I recognize that it has been like literally years until like since we had some like crazy mystery in the game that ended up being something crazy. Like it was true that something was going on with Telesto. It just was not as elaborate as I was hoping it would be. So I'm down for more stuff like this in the future, and just like not necessarily reading into it as much as I did this time. I don't know. I've seen some people being like really mean about this and like how like it was terrible and Bungie's so unfunny, and like I just don't think there's like a need to be a dick about it. Like, I do agree that like maybe like the meme has sort of been killed by the event at this point. But I understand why they did it and why things kind of played out the way they did. In terms of actual gameplay, I'm probably not going to do much Iron Banner. I just don't really care at the moment. And then I will be staying tuned for whenever this community event is. Next week is just a couple days before Thanksgiving. Maybe they're not going to do it then. I don't know. I have no idea. But it would be ludicrous if we had all of this stuff in the API and like the back end gearing up for this Elixir Quarter event. And it didn't happen, but I'm never say never at this point. And I am curious, like if it does happen, I'm very curious about how it's going to play out, what that means for the quarter going forward, what implications it could have for the beginning of next season if it bumps up right against it. But that is a conversation for another day and probably best saved for when or if the event actually starts. So that was Telesto Week. It was something, and we'll talk more about the very end of the season here soon. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.